Hey everybody, Dawn Zoldi here, P3 Tech Consulting, and we are talking about our Law Tech Connect workshop, which is upcoming at AUVSI Xponential in San Diego on Monday, April 22nd. We had a previous group talk about a month ago about panels 1 to 4. Today we're going to be talking about those panels at the end of the day, 5 to 8, and we've got some amazing guests today to talk about those. So I'm going to go around the horn here in a second and have them each introduce themselves. But before we do, I want to say that Lori DeMatteis from MatrixSpace, who is representing panel 8, unfortunately had some technical difficulties and won't be joining us today. I'm hoping to get some words of wisdom from her that I can share with you. But you know, technology is great when it actually works. So anyway, having said that, let's go around the room in alphabetical order, just because that's easiest. So we're going to start with Josh Olds from USI. Josh, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Josh Olds, President and CEO for USI. I am a longtime U.S. industry individual. I started in traditional aviation, but transitioned into remotely piloted aviation in about 2011. Flew anti-piracy operations, have been very heavily operations in my career, took over as CEO at USI in 2018, and so have been here ever since.
Awesome. And by the way, Josh and USI are our educational sponsors for this event. For those that don't know, I actually authored a drone law textbook for USI. That's on my website, but also, perhaps more importantly, it's on USI's website and the registration website for this event, where you can buy it at 50% off. So check that out. All of our scholars, and we're going to talk about that program here shortly, will receive the drone law textbook as part of their scholarship. So thanks, Josh, for your partnership over the years. And Josh is here representing panel 5. I love this title, Protection from Mayhem. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that here shortly. But before we do that, we'll go next with Alan Weigel from Maritime. Welcome, Alan. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a maritime attorney. I started my life as a ship driver, submarine driver in the United States Navy. Did that for 20 years. Had to do something when I grew up because they weren't going to let me drive submarines for the rest of my life. So I became a maritime attorney. And I've been working on, been an AUVSI a member for many years, and I've been working on issues related to autonomous vessels for 6, 7, 8 years now. And also now recently have become interested in autonomous vehicles, mainly because of the parallels that we see between those types of systems and the maritime systems, and hoping that we can try to find some common ground there to help advance the autonomous vessel technology and regulation.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And fun fact, everybody, last year, Alan just attended the event as an attendee. And afterwards, he reached out to me and said, hey, I really loved your event. How about faculty next year? And so here he is, and we really appreciate you and lending your expertise. And also, of course, for Blank Rome being a Friends of Law Tech Connect sponsor this year. So thanks so much, Alan. And last but certainly not least, our good friend, Jamar Williams, CEO of PromoDrone. Jamar, tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. As Don mentioned, I am the CEO of PromoDrone. We're an early stage technology company using LED billboard displays on drones, and we're super excited. That comes along with some good market feedback that we've had. So we're excited to see that people are interested in it. We've got customers, and with our partnership with Dragonfly has really helped accelerate our ability to go to market and scale our product. One side, we're hardware, but really under the hood, we're becoming a lot more data focused. That's where the AI comes in. So we've got a partnership and some financial backing from Google to build out our AI system. So that's pretty exciting, and couldn't be more grateful to be on the panel 7 for AI. So Don, thank you for that. And we're super excited to see everybody in our backyard.
Well, perfect. So now, yeah, his backyard, because he's in San Diego. So Jamar is sponsoring a scholars program. We'll talk about that here in a second. But thanks so much for being a part of it. And when I thought who would be a perfect moderator for this AI panel, which by the way is panel 7, Getting Intelligent on Artificial Intelligence. I thought Jamar, and we're excited to have Cam Shell from Dragonfly, your partner, on this panel, and so many other folks we're going to be talking about. So by the way, everybody, we are live. So if you have questions for any one of these amazing people, also of me, about the event, or you just want to say hi and give us positive encouragement, we love all of that. So let's keep it coming. Let's hear some comments. I'm checking my notes real quick to see if Lori has been able to chime in. And here we go. All right, so Lori is not here to talk about herself, but we love her. She is the Chief Revenue Officer for MatrixSpace. And, I had asked, and I'm going to ask all of you here in a second, what is the importance of Law Tech Connect? Why are you all involved in this event this year? And of course, Josh has been involved in the last couple of years, and Alan attended last year. Lori and MatrixSpace have been involved the last 2 years with scholars programs as well. And her comment is, the importance of Law Tech Connect is profound for the industry. Nowhere can everyone come together as across disciplines to learn relevant, immediate, and actionable information all in one day across a variety of subjects. And so thank you, Lori. It's proof. She did just send that. She's in an airport, her computer's hard broke, and we just couldn't make this work for her phone. So thank you, Lori. Thank you, MatrixSpace, and we miss you right now. But that's a great segue to ask all of you a little bit about this. So Josh, you guys have been our educational partner since day one, and we really appreciate that. In fact, you did commission me to write that drone law textbook for you. This event is one of those, I'd say, novel events that's focused solely on regulatory issues in the autonomous space. So as you kind of think about this, why, what importance do you place on the role of regulation and the importance of this particular event in helping to inform people of that, educate them, and maybe even shape the future of regulations?
Well, I think first off, I think the multiple disciplines is important, because when you look at the technology, why do we use the technology in the first place? And it's to find that ROI. It's to make money, save money, or create efficiencies. And so when you look at the use of technology, but the implications of liability and legal applications of that, whether it be federal or state or local, or they all play a role into managing a program. So being able to come together in one group setting and talk about the challenges, because there are challenges in deploying the technology and automation. There are challenges in, again, we focus at USI on training standards and programmatic standards in terms of how do you deploy this technology. It's one thing to deploy it once, and it's another thing to deploy it for years at a time in a repeatable and sustainable manner. So being able to come together, talk about the legal applications, the implications of a liability, and all of the different challenges that an operation can take on is really important, because a firm foundation for a program is how the industry moves forward. And we're still at the very early stages of this industry, which is difficult to say, because it's Part 107 came out in 2016, but we're looking forward to a potential NPRM for 108, again, talking specifically about airspace, but at the end of this year. And so that's really what we see as a catalyst for the growth of at least the air side of this industry, and how that technology is really going to proliferate organizationally and individually within these organizations.
Well, that's awesome. And by the way, Josh has been on our Dawn of Drones, which is our legacy podcast, our Dawn of Autonomy podcast, really since its start as well. And we're going to drop at least the latest link. Josh will be sponsoring the month of April on the Dawn of Autonomy, which is dedicated to education. Perfect timing for the month that this event also drops in. But Josh is a great living example of the reason for this event, to have industry experts get together with attorneys to talk about these issues. Alan, you are one of those attorneys, and frankly, a lot of people in this industry, they may not have even heard of Blank Rome. Like, I'm a licensed attorney. I know Blank Rome is a really big deal. I know you have a humongous global law firm. And, you know, the fact that you are here and participating in this and having these rich conversations about maritime and ground vehicles on your panel is so critical, and the reason why I created this event with this mix of faculty such as we see today. And yay, Lori's here, she made it. That's amazing. So technology has prevailed today. So Lori, we're going to get to you in a second, okay? Alan, I want to talk to you because, like I said, you sat in the event last year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was your first time. You've gone to a lot of continuing legal education events for attorneys, I assume, over your career. CLE, we call it in shorthand. By the way, everybody, this event has been approved by the California Bar, this just in, for 8 general credits. So that's a really big deal. If you're an attorney in the audience and you need CLE this year, no funner way to get it than to come to our event. And, you know, self-certifiable, transferable, but we'll get you that certificate. And Alan, tell us from your perspective, you've gone to a lot of CLE events. You sat through ours last year. You did reach out to me, and now here you are. Tell me what's different, you think, between this CLE and some of the others you've been to.
Well, I think one of the things you hit on already is the combination of the industry experts and the legal experts. I've only been on. I've been to a lot of CLEs. I've spoken. Been the presenter at many CLEs, and in my career, I've only had one other panel, CLE panel, where we had a non-lawyer industry expert on the panel, and they bring that connection brings the practical aspects of the law. You know, we can talk about the theories, we can talk about the doctrines, and we can say, well, these are the cases that we can apply the facts to these laws, but we're doing it as a lawyer. The industry experts are doing it as the people who are actually on the ground, in the air, on the water, doing it every day, and they're the ones who bring that perspective that too many times lawyers don't think about, and that's why I volunteered or asked you if I could be on the faculty this year, because I thought that connection, something that I try to bring to my practice all the time, and I was very impressed with the way it was done last year in Denver.
Thank you so much. And also thank you for your service, Alan, to the United States Navy. I totally agree. And that's why I purposefully curate panels with lawyers and industry experts, because probably, I was a JAG you were driving submarines, but I was driving a desk in the Air Force as a JAG. And what I would see is sometimes those lawyers would get in a back room, start formulating policies without fully understanding the technology or what the operators were actually doing. And that's where I think these conversations are so important. Jamar, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but before we do, since Lori was able to pop in, I want to catch her up and get everybody introduced to Lori DeMatteis. So Lori, I read your quote already, but if you could tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, that would be awesome.
Sure. I've been in this industry now about 5 years, but have been very deep into tech and developing tech, both in the hardware, software, and network layer. But more importantly, this brings what Dawn puts together is so much more than just the legal. I mean, she brings in the legal aspects and the regulatory aspects, but it's more than just for lawyers. I have people that go cross-discipline, coming in from product, coming in from the regs, obviously, and also legal, but sales as well. And I think it's very important because it brings together the industry holistically. And it enables us in one day to have a cross-section of very timely, interesting panels that will help us when we do our day-to-day job and work. So I look forward to being part of this with everybody in the next month.
Well, thank you so much. And speaking of bringing people together, I do want to say there are people out there on LinkedIn and on YouTube listening to us. We appreciate all of you. One of them is our buddy Dan Julin up in Canada. He's with Arium Analytics. We love Dan. And so thanks, Dan, for dialing in. And we also had another person who chimed into the chat. Rob in Monterey, he says, great topic, listening in. So thank you so much, Rob. And for everybody that is out there listening today, we hope, especially if you're going to AUVSI Expo, you will come a day early and join us for Law Tech Connect. Not only that, but we will have a networking event on Sunday evening. So I'll talk about more at the end, to kind of get everybody to know each other before they show up to the one-day event. So I think that's also unique. But Jamar, let's go back to you. And, you're local to San Diego. This is your town. We're so excited to be in your neck of the woods and for you to be participating in this. For those that don't know, Jamar and I met several years ago at a different event. And actually, it was the happy hour we called it the Flash Mob Networking Happy Hour. I literally put out on LinkedIn like, hey, everybody, if you're here at the Mirage Hotel, 6 o'clock, lobby bar, let's get together. And that's when I met Jamar. So Jamar, tell me from your perspective, this thing is called Law Tech Connect for a reason. And you've worked with me now for a while. What do you expect to see, based on your kind of experience and history with some of the things we've done together? What are you hoping to see at this year's event?
Yeah, this is exciting. So I think getting back to Josh's point about us being still early stages of an industry, I think it'll be exciting to see how far we've come and also how far we have to go. We're not in the Wild West anymore, but we're not quite Metropolis. We're somewhere on that spectrum of things, right? And we all have these visions. And I think what's cool is we have these concurrent technologies that are starting to present themselves. Now we're talking AI, right? So like before, it was like, how do you get drones to fly in certain airspaces? And what about flying over people? And we were all had those kind of very tangible challenges. Now it's like, oh, now here's AI. Let's throw this whole new thing into the mix that's kind of scaling rapidly at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how these kind of cross-pollinizations are happening across different markets, across different types of technologies. And, I think what you're doing is vital in terms of education. One of our missions at PromoDrone is elevating communities by elevating communication. And I think core to that is education, understanding the rules of the road. And I've been a certified pilot since they had the Part 107 requirement. I've been flying drones for 10 years. And I've seen how it's gone from where do you have to go to learn and get information? You had to kind of figure it out, to now having so many different organizations that offer good information where you can go get certified. You can start to have a real good career in this field. And then now you've got Law Tech Connect, which is able to anchor a lot of these different points together. And you've done a phenomenal job. So I'm excited to see just see old friends and good faces and see where the technology is going, because it's always something new every year. So,
well, thank you for that, Jamar. Jamar raises a great point about the connections between this entire ecosystem of technologies. I mean, Lori and her group are using AI, kind of powered radars, if you will. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Josh is putting out incredible educational content. Alan's giving legal advice, and Jamar's got this collaboration with Dragonfly for the Starling X2, the PromoDrone, where it's this digital display board. And so to see all this come together and have these conversations around the laws and policy is so key. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of go in order. I'm going to start with Josh, because you're panel 5. And, I always have to go there, right? A little bit to the dark side, if you will. With every good technology, there's risk involved. And, that risk sometimes holds back the regulators from moving forward at a pace that we all want to see. And so actually, I created this panel 5, Protection from Mayhem, based on participant feedback last year. At the end of every event, I put out a form. I asked people to fill it out, give me ideas about what they want to see for the next year. And a couple people actually said, we want to hear from insurance companies. We want to know more about risk. And so, Josh, you're part of this panel because, your entire organization is anchored around safety. And safety management systems is one component of what you do. But let's talk a little bit about your panel. I know you've had a chance to kind of go through that. So would you tell us a little bit about what your panel is going to focus on, and what topics we could expect to hear on this Protect Yourself from Mayhem panel?
Yeah, so we're excited about it because, again, I mentioned earlier about foundations, building foundations, and part of this, and the topic of kind of it's educating, right? And so we're educating folks on the cybersecurity issues that are presented by autonomous technology. SMS is obviously really important, and I can walk down that pathway. But safety management systems, right? How do we manage and mitigate risk within an organization so that we can scale with that technology? Again, one is great, but flying 100 or 200 pilots, being able to scale is critical. And so how do you do that? And then we're also going to be talking about insurance, and insurance in this industry, especially aviation insurance coverage for hull and for, the aircraft itself and liability, and insurance is crazy. It's going crazy. I mean, the policies, understanding what you need from an insurance perspective and how it caters to your organization and the specific risk you're taking on as an organization, insurance can be complicated. And so understanding how that ties back to your corporate policies and your procedures and how you manage risk. So it's all about threat and error management, but it's also about creating a shared mental model among your executive leadership, among your pilots, among your technicians, your visual observers, your business developers. It's creating a shared mental model that says, look, we're all speaking the same language, regardless if we came from the DoD or we came from aviation or hobbyist recreationalist or technology. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we can't scale if we're not all speaking the same language and looking at the organization and really the threat and error model or safety management in the same perspectives. And so this panel is all about how do we manage that? Where are those risks? Where are those liabilities? And how can we address them regardless if we're flying under Part 107 or perhaps a Part 91 exemption or a future Part 108? It's all about scaling and meeting that liability and that risk where you're at as a corporation.
No, absolutely. And, to talk about this, besides Josh, of course, who's here today, we have two attorneys that are, leaders in their field. We've got Michelle Reed, who's a partner at Aiken, as well as Tom Dukes. By the way, fun fact, a retired Air Force Brigadier General. He is with BizTech Lawyers now. And so I reunited with Tom, and he's going to be speaking to these topics. We've got John Perez from Dark Wolf Solutions talking about cybersecurity, which I'm super excited about because if you picked up any drone news lately, all you're hearing is about DJI drones and how there really is not a cybersecurity threat. So maybe we'll be talking a little bit about that and possibly from another perspective. We shall see. Tune in. And last but not least, we got an insurance guy. Alistair Blundy is with a company called Skyrisks, and they're out of the UK. He's actually flying to this event. Now they are doing stuff in the advanced air mobility space. They're actually insuring eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So one of their few companies out there doing this. So super excited to have Alistair, not just for his amazing accent, but for also to hear, what he has to say about, how they're addressing this. These planes aren't even really flying yet. And then last but certainly not least, we've got Don Burkoff from actually, I take it back. The Weather Don is going to be possibly in another country. So we've got his VP, Tom Frunix from True Weather Solutions, going to join us to talk about, as you're thinking about risk, what's that weather risk and how do you mitigate that? And that's what True Weather is all about. So this panel, it's mind blowing. And I don't know how we're all going to fit all of this into 1 hour. Because every single one of these topics can take up its own, panel, and maybe that's something we'll look into for the out years. But Josh, thank you so much. That was an awesome summary. And let me see. So and you guys have the illustrious spot of being right after lunch. Which, fun fact, everybody, when you register for this event, we do feed you thanks to our sponsors. And so you will get a box lunch. You will be able to talk to people during the breaks. And that's kind of part of this connection that we hope to create as part of this event. But let's move on. Thank you so much, Jess. We're going to talk about the next panel, panel 6, and this is Alan's panel. I didn't mention the title of it, but I will now. It's called, and I don't know how I make up these things, but I thought this was funny and could maybe eye-catching. Surf and Turf. Yeah. Serving up autonomous regulations, because when you think about the surface, subsurface, which is Alan's career, as well as, ground vehicles. You think of the future, all of these systems are going to be interconnected. This is going to be multimodal, multi-domain. I mean, these are what our operations, at least on the Department of Defense side, they're already happening that way. And I think as we move and mature on the commercial side, we're going to see more and more of this. But honestly, you look at drone regulations and people, Alan, feel like, oh, the FAA isn't moving fast enough. But you look at the maritime surface, the maritime uncrewed arenas, you look at ground vehicles and the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration and what the states are doing. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, the air might be light years ahead in some respects than some of these other regimes. So tell us a little bit about your panel.
Yeah, so that you make a good point that the FAA is a light years ahead of where everybody else is. We have a very interesting panel. We have it's being moderated by Hong Soon Kim, partner at Aiken, and we have actually 3 naval officers or former naval officers on the panel. And we also have Allison Skopek from Holland and Knight, who I think was maybe a former Coast Guard officer. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at her bio. The focus of the panel really is going to be the regulation of both maritime systems and ground systems, and I think that they combine very well because the technologies that are needed for both of those types of systems are almost identical. The same kinds of things are used to control, and the AI and the decision-making processes are pretty much the same. We're going to talk about the regulations that apply to the extent they do. There are any regulations for the maritime systems or what's being developed for regulations for maritime systems, and then segue into the regulations that are in place for ground systems. Largely, the regulation for ground systems has been a statewide process. California, appropriate that we're having this panel in California because California probably has the most robust and developed set of regulations for driverless cars, as they're being called, and probably is the place where most of the driverless car miles have been logged in the past 4 or 5 years. Although the others, there's a handful, maybe a little bit more than a handful of other states that have their own regulations and have started implementing driverless cars, allowing them to drive on the roads, testing them. Right now, it's just cars, by the way. So far, nobody has really allowed heavy vehicles like semis to go driverless or autonomous on their highways. Although I think that's we're working up to that in the future. And the other issue that we'll be talking about is we have all these unmanned, driverless things out there. What are the liability issues we're grappling with? Just as one example, don't remember which state it was. They've decided that they can't issue traffic tickets to driverless vehicles for some reason.
These are weird, you know what I mean? I love this because these are the weird issues. And by the way, everybody, our full crew newscast, we have been, and that was California too, I think, Alan.
Yeah.
We've been talking about these issues forever because what was making headlines, I think it was Cruise shut down their vehicles for a while. There was that horrific accident where some lady was crossing the street, bounced off a different car, like a driver hit her. She bounced off that car, landed in front of one of these Cruise uncrewed vehicles. And then, with its autonomous system, it was trained to back up. Well, it wound up dragging her 20 feet and, creating some, like just critical catastrophic injuries to this woman. And so there was a big investigation, but, and ultimately she did succumb to those injuries. So awful case. And, you hear things like this. You think about also, Alan, the patchwork quilt. Everybody on the drone side is like, oh, we can't have every state legislating differently. But yet, like, we see this in the ground vehicle side. So I'm super excited to talk about that. Tell us a little bit about the maritime arena, because You know, a lot of this happens, you know, we got the territorial waters, and we're going to get into that at the event. We don't need to go that here. But, you know, there's a big international swath of sea, right? Like
Right.
water covers the majority of our planet. You know, so you'll be talking about both the international rules as well as the U.S. domestic rules and what we're seeing.
Yeah. So there's the easy way to put this is there are no rules for.
Woohoo! Talk about Wild West.
Yeah. So there's currently an effort underway. The international body that regulates maritime issues is called the International Maritime Organization, or IMO, and there's currently a thing underway with the IMO to develop regulations for autonomous vessels. There's been a huge development from the commercial side everywhere other than the United States, largely. There've been testing of autonomous ferries, for example, a ferry boat, nobody at the helm, just lots of people and cars. In Japan, autonomous vessels being tested in Europe. In the United States, there's not as much commercial development. The United States Navy has really adopted autonomy in its vessels as a priority, and because there's no regulation, that's led to some issues where other countries have said, well, that's an unsafe vessel, we're going to seize it. I mean, there's all kinds of issues related to that.
Yeah, wow.
So even though the Navy is ahead full speed on autonomy, the United States Coast Guard a little bit less so, and I mean, they're an underfunded, understaffed agency that is very risk adverse, so they've been going much slower. And you know, to sort of combine the surface, ground-based and maritime-based, the ground-based regulations have a lot of interesting places where you could incorporate a lot of the testing, a lot of the regulations, a lot of the requirements into the same kind of thing that maybe the Coast Guard should look at to certifying autonomous vessels as safe to operate. So we're going to talk all about those kinds of things at our panel.
Wow. I mean, see, there are connections all around here, and I don't know that people fully appreciate this. I hope you do now if you're listening, and I hope you'll come to the event to learn more. So thank you, Alan. That was an awesome summary of your panel. And I always learn every time I listen to this, and you're absolutely right. We've got actually a retired Rear Admiral from the Navy, JAG, Kirk Foster, who works with Huntington Ingalls Industries as part of your panel, and Commander Tracy Reynolds, who's still on active duty. Just saw her at Duke Law. So yeah, just such a great panel. So thank you so much. All right, Jamar, we are on panel 7, getting intelligent on artificial intelligence. You know, if there was a buzzword for 2023, and of course you're seeing it still now, of course, even more so, that buzzword was the term was artificial intelligence, AI. And so tell us what we can expect from your panel.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm excited because we kind of have a 3-pronged panel here. We've got individuals from the private sector, the public sector, and the government/military sector. So it'll be interesting to see how each one of those sectors are dealing with AI, what the challenges are within each one of those sectors, and really what the baseline of success in implementing AI is. So we'll start with kind of high level, really drilling down on the definition. As you mentioned, it's a buzzword, but what's it really mean? I know we all have a different relationship to AI depending on where we are and what our duties are day to day. Some people implement it on more of an office to office kind of opportunity. Some people are dealing with technology. Some people are dealing with it from entertainment. So there's a lot of ways to look at AI and understand what it is and what it's not. So dispelling some of the myths around what AI is. We're going to dig into what the use cases are. So we're talking about 3D modeling. We're talking about biometrics. What are some of the implications around facial recognition, as we like to call it, facial capture, and what we do. But there is a distinct difference. And what's that mean? And how does that have a psychological effect on the human beings that are affected by it, right? We're seeing hyperproductivity as a result of it. How is that going to really affect society? And what's that look like from a legal and ethical standpoint? What are some of the unique privacy concerns amongst all those 3 prongs? How are we dealing with them? And what's the future, the roadmap look like for AI implementation? Do we think that it'll be heavily legislated. I know there's not a lot of states that have a lot of state legislation in place, but I do know New York's got some. We have California and some other states kind of following suit to be ready for that. But what's that legislation look like? And then what's that look like from a federal level in terms of developing this in someone's backyard, right? Like what happens when somebody can create their own AI and have it do what they want it to do? How do we handle that as a society? So it'll be interesting that as we talk about transparency, how you communicate this with the public, how education look around it, how we keep eyes on it as human beings, and then how do we form multiple disciplinary teams around implementation of the technology.
Wow, that is an amazing summary. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the federal government in particular has just, both feet in, jumped into this AI bandwagon. We're seeing the Office of Personnel Management, relaxing hiring rules, which it never does, so that they can hire AI experts. Military, obviously, huge applications. And what Jamar alluded to there was we actually have Brigadier General United States Army retired JAG Pat Houston, who's going to be on this panel. Now, Pat was in year one. So though, Lori, you may remember, Pat was on our AI panel, as was Natalie Pierce. She's a partner at Gunderson Detmer out of California. They are making a reappearance, and so much has changed in the world of AI since they were both first on our very first year. And by the way, we are in year 3 for this event. Mark McKinnon with Fox Rothschild is one of the attorneys on this panel. And our 2 industry experts, in addition to Jamar, who's moderating, are going to be Ramel Martinez from ASTN Group. They've created the Valmes multi-agent artificial intelligence. You can learn more about that on my website under product releases if you have interest. And then Cameron Schell, CEO of Dragonfly, as we mentioned earlier. So, man, what another amazing panel. I always sit back and look at this event and these panels, and I'm like, wow, they all said yes, and they're all coming, and it's going to be amazing. So thank you so much, Jamar, for being a part of the event this year. And not only is Jamar sponsoring a scholars program, but he's going above and beyond and actually storing some of the swag that we hope to give out to you guys in his garage. And so, Jamar, we appreciate you for everything that you do and that you're doing in support of this event. Glad you're a part of it.
Thank you.
And once again, last but not least, panel 8. We are rounding out the day, with frankly, it was funny last year, Lori. We had, I think, this counter UAS panel that you were on last year, yes, towards the end of the day as well. And someone said to me, man, every panel was good. And then it was getting towards the end of the day. And then it was that panel. And it was just wow, worth waiting for. And I feel like absolutely that's the case of this one. This panel 8, everybody, that Lori is involved in, it's called the Other 3 A's, Airspace Awareness and Assessment, because we have earlier in the day the first 3 A's, which is airmen, airspace, and aircraft in the context of advanced air mobility. These are the other 3 A's. One that everybody's real worried about, quite frankly, right, Lori? How do we protect our airspace? How do we make sure it's safe for people that are flying in it? And so can you tell us a little bit about this panel and that you're participating in and what we can expect?
Well, I think it's a really important time because of the wars going on. There is, and also just literally the football teams, right? We've all heard about the airspace, the drones coming in, a couple of different football teams and stopping those games. I think it's an unprecedented time in the history of the United States where there is what I would call, when I go to cocktails or I'm talking to people are talking about, hey, is there going to be drones dropping out of the sky and hurting us and harming us? And that all comes around now. How do we handle building to building infrastructure? How do we handle the ability to have passenger and air taxi? How do we keep everything safe as we start to mobilize, what I call mobilize the skies? And so that's what this panel is going to be talking about, coming in it from different perspectives of, but at the end of the day, keeping the air safe. Building owners, what are we doing on liability? What are we doing as far as just on the ground and ground security that enables air security? Let's not forget that. That's now becoming an integral part that we were never discussed as an industry before. So those are the things that we're going to be covering and sort of summarizing all the panels that throughout the day in this ending crescendo.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, a crescendo. This faculty has shifted around a little bit. We do have a new person on the panel, Lori. You don't even know this yet. Abby Smith, formerly of the FAA, is going to, yes, now be on this panel as well. We've got Tom, by the way, Abby co-chaired the essentially what I'll shorthand call the Counter UAS Aviation Rulemaking Committee, or ARC, and that report recently came out, 119 pages. So we'll have, a firsthand expert to talk about that. Tom Adams from High Point Aero Technologies. Most of you probably know him as from his Counter UAS Hub website. Former FBI agent. Tom is going to be talking about some of the technologies that are out there for airspace awareness and assessment, as will Colby Free from Airspace Link. They've made their entire business around this idea of helping visualize air and ground risk to get people into those advanced operations like one-to-many, beyond visual line of sight. And last but not least on that panel, we've got Matthew West from Hawk Aero Safety, has that kind of bigger picture of, he's been a lot of his career, I think he spent as a medevac pilot, and he worked, I'm going to say, with UPS Flight Forward, if I'm thinking correctly on this.
Yes,
yeah, and so he's been around the block in both the kind of the rotor aircraft side and the drone side, and now he's consulting in this space. So super excited to have Matthew also join this panel. So thanks, Lori. That was a great summary. We do have a lot of people out there. I hope y'all are signing up. We'll put that registration link here in the chat for you guys, so you can sign up for the event. By the way, early bird registration technically ends this Friday. So, get in while the getting's good. I hope you guys can take advantage of that cheaper price. The price does also, foot stomp this, include our event Sunday evening, the 21st. So I am locking down the venue, and I don't want to announce it right now. So obviously a lot of you are following me on LinkedIn. If you're not, do that, because I'll be posting up. We'll also put it on my website, P3 Tech Consulting, the location and a sign-up sheet for that. Now, if you register for Law Tech Connect, you're going to get some complimentary drinks on Sunday night, thanks to our sponsors, Modal AI, Fox Rothschild, and P3 Tech Consulting. And even if you don't join us, which we hope you do, just come on down anyway. You can buy your own drinks, but get to mingle with everybody. And you also get, as part of your registration, a 3-day Expo Hall Pass to AUVSI Expo. So after spending the day with us Monday, and when the floor opens up Tuesday, you can run the 2 football fields worth of technologies and talk to the companies that are there. I know USI, you're having a booth, right, Josh?
Yeah, we'll have a booth there.
Yeah, so Josh always has a booth. Lori, are you guys also MatrixSpace? Yeah, yep. So visit MatrixSpace.
We're in the AAM pavilion.
Oh, you're having a pavilion?
Well, we're in the AAM pavilion, so that's the area where they slotted us into. So
awesome. Okay, Advanced Air Mobility Pavilion this year. So many states have their own pavilion. North Dakota, fun fact, is coming out in force to Law Tech Connect. They're bringing 20 people. So super excited about that. And so again, we hope you join us, and that's kind of what comes along with it. We're going to have some killer swag that you guys will walk away with. And of course, if you're a scholar, you'll get that drone law textbook. Otherwise, you can buy it half price on the website. So with our basically 1 minute left, what I want to do is cede the floor to our guests here to kind of close out. And then also, please, as part of that, tell everybody how they can reach you. I know you will all be obviously at my event, hopefully coming to the happy hour Sunday evening as well. And then some of you at booths on the expo floor. Otherwise, you'll be running around that floor. But let's go ahead and we're going to go backwards now. Lori, we missed you, so we're going to go with you first.
Just welcome. Thank you. Like I said, this is an amazing opportunity to not only network, but really learn. And it's quality education that will help you no matter what your role in the industry. And just reach out to us at info@matrixspace.com. So look forward to seeing everybody in a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
And thank you to Dawn for putting this on, because I know how hard you take to make it so special for everybody.
Oh, thank you so much for that. All right, going back, Jamar, you're next. Oh, I think you're muted, my friend.
Sorry, I was trying to be respectful here. Yeah, thank you for just having us. We're excited about the show, bringing the amalgamation of all the talent, the opportunity, and the information that will be on display. So we're excited about it. We'll be at South by Southwest next week in Austin, presenting to a room full of GovTech officials that are looking for innovative technology. So if you're in Austin next week at South by Southwest, we'd love to connect and sit down and talk shop. But that's just kind of a precursor for the big event in April that we're super excited to be a part of with Don and the whole team there. So just thanks for having us. If you want to reach out by email, it's info@promo-drone.co. It'll come right to our team, and we'll be happy to chat with you about anything you may have on your mind.
All right, awesome. Alan, you're up next.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll be at the both the Law Tech Connect and walking the floor at the AUVSI Expo. Sorry. If you have questions, you can talk to me there, or you can reach out to me. My email is alan.weigel@blankrome.com, or just blankrome.com. You can find me, and I'm also on LinkedIn.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And Josh, you are our last speaker. Go ahead and close us out for today.
No, thank you so much for having us. Really looking forward to the event. Obviously, be at AUVSI, the AAI event, the Insurance Association events, the weekend after. So we'll be at that. And then our team's going to be at Women in Aviation here coming up in March. I believe that's in Orlando.
Oh, nice. I did just read about that in the National Association of State Aviation Officials newsletter. So really cool that you're involved in that. I'm glad to hear that. And for my part, I'll be at insanely, I'm going to Amsterdam the week before I'm holding an event at AUVSI. So I'll be at Amsterdam Drone Week in the Netherlands right before this. But in the meantime, next week, if you're at the Drone Responders National Public Safety UAS conference, please reach out. I will be moderating a panel on Wednesday on training and credentialing and just running the floor in general. Also doing a stream that will broadcast next Thursday at 9 a.m. Mountain from that show. So check that out next week. So much going on. But thank you all for taking the time today. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching and listening. And we hope to see you at Law Tech Connect this year. So in the meantime, everybody, be well. We are out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.